Wenwu, his base personality was someone that wanted power, that wanted to have control. And whatever you practice at any moment is what you are going to get better at. Power and the want for power is an extremely innate need for humans, though it is trumped by one other emotion. And I love that. I love that little tiny spin. And she has just that little bit of a wry smile, and immediately you know he is captivated. Love trumps the want for power in humans. And we've seen it by kings giving up their kingships for falling in love, and wars being theoretically started for that. Helen of Troy. It might only be a myth, but it's definitely a myth we've all heard about. So here we have them fighting, but slowly the fight became less of a battle and more of a session in flirting while they fought with each other, which I thought was one of the most adorable moments in the movie. Also, because you can see this juxtaposition of fighting, which usually means you're angry at each other, but in this case, you could tell that they were falling in love. You could see his aspiration changing, because at the beginning, he wanted power, but you could tell at the end of this battle, what he actually wanted was her.
For years, I thought that was all I was meant to be. But when I met their mother, everything changed.
When you meet someone that shows you that you can be better than you thought you could be, that shows you a different way, it opens your eyes up like a baby seeing the world from a different aspect, a different facet. Who we are, how we identify ourselves is often through our actions, the things that we've been, or the things that we've told that should be important and who we should be. But really, who you define yourself as is your choice, depending on who you would like to be. And you can change that, but old habits, patterns that you've formed in your brain become kind of wired that way, and it becomes difficult to be able to change them also. He's found something that was greater than his desire for power and control, which is love and a family.
After all those years, I finally found something worth growing old for.
Which is a huge thing. He's not just giving up power and control, but he's giving up his immortality.
And when she died, I was lost for many years, but I'm not lost anymore.
So when she died, I think that two things happened for Wenwu. I think that one was that he felt a lot of guilt, that maybe if he was wearing the rings, he could have protected her. If he was more powerful, maybe they wouldn't have attacked him. If he was allowed into the Forbidden Forest, perhaps she would still be alive, and it was his actions and his inability to be a better person earlier on in his life that stopped them from being in this protected place.
I was sitting right here in this seat, and she spoke to me. It was like she was standing in this room. She told me she needs my help to save her from her people.
You can see that if we talk about the stages of grief, he's still in that denial stage. And a little bit of that bargaining. He doesn't believe that she's gone. Grief can be all-encompassing. We can lose ourselves in grief, especially when it's that special person that has changed us, that has given us happiness and joy. And he fell into this pit where the only thing that he could see was her. You don't always go through it chronologically, but you do want to progress to being able to hit acceptance so you're not stuck in that stage of denial or depression or anger.
没关系，咱们一家人很快就能在一起了。
But he really does hear her. And I don't think that there's anyone that if they heard their loved one saying, you know what, I need you to rescue me, this is where I am, that would not do everything in their power to be able to find out, is this true or is this not true? So I think that for Wenwu, he is the bad guy that I think everyone can relate to. He's doing this not for maliciousness, not even for power, but for the woman that he loves, so he can bring back his happiness, his family back together. And that's why I think that his story is the most tragic and the most understanding to all of us.
They will come back once I bring her home. prepare the men for war.
And if you did not believe in the convictions of his actions and his belief, he said that once he brings his wife home, he'll be able to bring back his family. And so he fully believes that she is there. I can understand him stopping at nothing to be able to bring his wife, his love, back home and fight for her. This makes me have an understanding also with him wanting to wipe out the whole village, because he blames them for not allowing them in. That's why she wasn't safe. And I'm not saying that this is right, but I do understand the emotion behind it. He's angry at them.
他说我是可以改变的，我也可以放下一切，可是他错了。如果我当初没有把他们摘下来，那些混蛋根本就不敢动手，我要他们付出代价。
So this goes into his own guilt that he made a choice of letting go of the rings, and if he had not, these men would never have hurt her. They wouldn't have dared to cross him because he would have been able to unleash the fury upon them. And so he's also stuck within his guilt, but sometimes when you're stuck so much inside of your guilt, you miss the forest from the trees. And he has neglected his children in this time because he is so consumed with that grief. And that can happen to us. We can get lost in our grief and pain and then go back to old habits.
You were there when they came for her, and you did nothing. You stood at a window and watched her die.
And when we are so consumed with our grief and our anger, again, it shuts off that prefrontal cortex. We're not thinking, we're just reacting. And so he says these horrible words of blaming his son, who was a young child at the time, for his wife, his love, dying. And I think that we've all been in those positions when we were so angry or so upset that we have said horrific things that we should not have said. And for him, it is definitely a projection that he actually blames himself for her dying. But sometimes we can't carry that. It's too much. And so we find the closest other person that we can blame so that we don't get consumed with that pain ourselves.
我们回家了。
How heartbreaking. He touches the wall, this dragon scale encrusted door, and she says, "Save me." There is no way in hell if my loved one, if I touch something and my loved one says, "Save me," that I am not going to do everything in my power to be able to save them. We can understand it. That's what makes him such a poignant, heartfelt, bittersweet bad guy, is that I don't think any of us would do anything different in this circumstance. You would have to know, and I don't think that you would sleep or be able to be comfortable if he had just walked away, if he had believed people that he already blames for her death. Why would he believe them? He has to find out, and I can understand that. That's why it makes me feel so emotional seeing him here unleashing these demons. I can't feel even bad about it because I can understand that pain and that need to know. It's just such a human feeling.
Get out of my way, boy. Now.
I really wish that his skills at being able to communicate were a little bit better of, you know what, Dad? I really don't believe she's there. Maybe we can peel back one dragon scale and take a look, and I can prove to you that there's only demons behind this door. Let's do this together. I understand, Dad. Let's find out if Mom is actually there or not. And they could have worked as a team to be able to, one, keep the city safe, and two, see, is she actually back there? Because I'll be honest, even in the movie, I'm like, maybe she is back there. I don't know. Like, I half expected when the demons came out, she might be riding on one of them. I'm just saying, it could have been a possibility. And I love that moment where Wenwu, jumps out and tackles his son to protect him, that he still loves him and he's still his dad. Getting emotional, I'm sorry. And I love that moment when his dad, they never get to say, he never gets to say he's sorry. which I think is really sad. But he does have that moment of remembering how much he loves his son, and he wants to keep him safe, and so he gives up his rings for him, which is really beautiful. I do think it's really sad that they never had that moment to be able to explain that he still loves him. But you can see from his face and the peace that he has before he dies that he does as he gives up the rings. So, sorry. He is one of my favorite bad guys because I think that it's just so understandable for all of us to go through that, and I think it's so poignant and beautiful. They had this battle that started out as fighting and ends up in this beautiful show of love and sacrifice for the other, exactly the way that his love and him began also. So let me know your feelings if you enjoyed the movie and if you understand his journey also, and if you like this video, please hit subscribe.